What a novel idea. You prepared for the interview.
Prepared
nice.
for the
I like
interview.
that.
So I'm told by the assistant, why don't you go out and grab a coffee on the lot and then come back? And I say, okay, sounds great. So I walk out, and as I'm walking out, the showrunner himself walks into the building.
And you recognize him.
I recognize him.
He Googled it.
Facial recognition. I did an ocular pat down. I said, this is the guy. Is it wrong that I think people at Goodwill should be a little bit more, I don't know, grateful?
Nice.
We just moved. We got all this stuff we're bringing into Goodwill. It's like, there's a lot of great stuff in here. There's a lot of cookware that people can use. There's video games that we don't play, but poor people can play them, because it's FIFA 2018. You know what I mean?
Maybe
they don't say thank you at all. There's no gratitude.
Maybe they look at it when you ask for the receipt so you can get a tax reduction. They see you as a pig.
I don't do that.
Oh.
I don't like clerical work. I don't have time for it.
Well, maybe then some other people are thinking like, hey, I know these people think they're doing something good, but we really know that this is just an easy way so they don't have to pay to drop this crap off at the dump.
I'm a jerk. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're big jerks. We're bringing you stuff to donate to Goodwill.
I don't have room, sir.
That's probably it.
And they're probably beaten down after person who walks into the establishment expecting a giant pat on the back on their way out.
So it's wrong that I expect a thank you?
Oh, there are assholes there. There used to be one right down the street on Ventura Boulevard. I dropped a dinner table off that I had just bought the year before. I had a girlfriend moving in with me. She brought hers. It was much nicer. This thing was like $250.
Well, it's cumbersome. It sounds cumbersome.
They turned their nose up at it.
Yeah, I would
and
too.
they took a few snide remarks, and I was like, hey, buddy, 24 hours ago, this table, I had a bag of Jack in the Box out on it with a grilled chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
I was eating on this table.
Yeah,
that you're now insulting.
You can eat on this.
And don't go there with a TV that's more than 2 years old. They will spit in your mouth.
Well, I don't know.
TVs are a dime a dozen.
Listen, people who work at Goodwill aren't homeless, but I'm having the same issue with homeless people. I just feel like the gratitude it's completely not there.
Oh, don't get me started in the entitlement of the homeless.
They're so fucking entitled. Apartment. We moved in, and the previous tenants had a bunch of stuff in there left over. It was a big fight, but they scheduled a pickup, so they asked me to go take a bunch of stuff out to the street. I'm a pussy, so I couch out and did it one morning very early, and I walked out, and I was dumping a bunch of stuff, and then the second trip, obviously, a zombie came out and saw what I was doing, and I was I was really scared there for a second. And she was malnourished. She looked like she was from Mad Max Fury Road. She had a Marlboro Light in her mouth right down to the butt. I mean, every single fucking inch of that thing. And she had a rag over her head. And I felt as though we had established a rapport that was non-existent in reality's terms. I felt like I was working at Sotheby's. Every time I came out with new stuff, I was introducing the things like they were an exhibit. And she was, you know how like Gollum kind of gets, the hip flexors are super like springy and the hips can like fly up.
He's like Gumby.
And yeah, exactly. So she was just like, like a half bird, kind of going through everything. I dumped everything out and I said, anyways, I'm Dylan. Hope you have a great day. And she just turned and looked at me and then went back to sifting through the stuff. And I was like, where is the thank you?
Well, Dylan,
there's a lot of great stuff here.
You can come off pretty arrogant. Oh,
really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Even for a zombie.
The thing that disgusted me most about that story is you mentioned she was malnourished. Like, I understand not being able to have a domicile.
I would like to be that thin.
In Southern California. Rent is absurd. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, you're paying $2,000 for a
Caitlyn
one
Jenner's
bedroom.
gonna fix that.
But with the prevalence of the emphasis on organic foods and stuff, there's no excuse for her not to be taking care of her health.
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? Go to Lassen's.
Lassen's.
Can I say something? And forgive me if people think this is inhumane or what have you, but I think people in neighborhoods would tolerate a tent on the sidewalk or a few if they weren't such fucking messy hoarders. You know, why don't you clean up your little fucking area?
Yeah.
It becomes like an episode of fucking Hoarders and taking up an entire underpass.
Right, like when you were living in that rat-infested apartment with the tarps
Tent
all
City.
over the place, you guys had to keep your areas clean.
You did, or someone would say something about it.
You know, this is a disgusting thing to say, but I think that we should take all the trash, right, all over the city, because there's a lot of good building materials, and let's make an island, put some people to work, and just, I don't know, just put them out there. I came to this conclusion. It was a weak moment, and sorry if this sounds inhumane, but we were driving on the 101. These two dudes were up on up on the
Overpass?
hills.
Oh, the hills. Okay.
And just having a great time. The dude finishes a Slurpee. I'm sitting there in bumper to bumper traffic. He just fucking throws it down the hill. I was like, what? Where's the gratitude?
Dylan, it's insane that you think like you had a great revolutionary idea. You need to change your lens. You're looking through this. You're giving these people purpose.
Yep.
They're on an island by themselves.
Yep.
It's not far from Randy Marsh's idea that he had in South Park, where you just take all the homeless people and you turn them into tires.
We could turn the homeless into tires so that we'd still have homeless, but we could use them on our cars. That's like recycling.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's really, really brilliant.
Yeah, well, I think we got to relinquish the concept that those people that live under the underpass worked for Amazon 3 weeks ago, and then they lost their job.
Well,
there's someone who came from a broken fucking family, internally are just destroyed human beings, and they use drugs to cope with it. And this is the easiest place to live when you just want to wait to die.
This is supposed to be a comedy podcast.
Right.
That was pretty funny though. But you know, Silver Lake's lovely regardless. And speaking of Lassen's, I went into Lassen's the other day, and somebody went up to the clerk I was checking out, and he interrupted the process, which I was like, oh, like find somebody else. He's taking care of me right now. But he said, I can't find and this isn't a joke, I cannot find the avocado milk. Can you help me find the avocado milk? Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, what world did you live in when there was just 2% and whole? Like what can you not live without they found it. It exists. Avocado milk does exist. I was just blown away by it. Also, the clerk gave me 99 cents.
Wouldn't round up to the dollar.
99 cents. And before I could recognize the crime that he had committed, he'd shut the register. So I said, can you just give me $1? And he said, no, sorry, man, I already shut the register. And it's this thing where it's like, why do you love the place you work so much? Why you're not willing to just take a penny from them and give it to me? You've given me 5 pounds of change.
Dylan,
I can't sit. My wallet's huge.
He's going beep, 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 beep on a register all day. He has no idea what you do, but somehow the powers of the ether are that you have more power over him. But not on this day.
I think I would
not on this day.
I think I would have jumped over the counter and just tackled him. I would have been pulled off.
Are you an insane person? 99 cents?
I don't even touch change anymore. I don't like paper money or coins. I don't care if it's 99 cents. I just say keep it. I don't want to touch it.
I would have had to been pulled off that guy. I've got a lot of pent-up rage. We just recently had our discussion about altercations in public, and I said I didn't have any. I was cool as a cucumber. Never... Dude, I almost got ran off the road. Do you want to introduce the show, and then I'll tell that quick?
Yeah. This is another podcast show. This is where we gab and goof really about whatever's at top of mind. I'm Dylan, saddled up next to one real Nick Davis.
What's going on, everybody?
Pat produces the shows over there behind my glasses.
Great to be here.
So, yeah, we were talking about road rage, and Nick was like, oh, it's never happened to me. 48 hours later. Listen to this.
Oh.
I'm heading... down the 101 when you're about to split off 101, 134. This is some local LA stuff.
Yep.
People love that, though. Who do know what it means. They're like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, I know that place.
But that's why I get so specific. Even though it's lost on 90%.
That is a horrible, I have to say. The 134 and 101, when they split off from one of each other, that is one of the worst intersections.
And to people who don't know what we're talking about, we get to Hollywood, it's Tinseltown.
But I'm telling you, actually, I don't mind it because you can just really game the system if you just stay on the 101 side till the last second.
Okay, but we should,
Well, getting too specific. But so I'm driving down, and I'm eventually going to go on that 134, but there's actually not that much traffic. Everything's moving, so I wanted to get in the left lane. Had my blinker on, ready to go in the left lane. And there's kind of just this unspoken rule: if you get your blinker on more than like a car length behind the person in front of you, he should let you in.
Yes.
He sees you, lets you in. One person doesn't. They let me pass. So the second person should definitely let me in. And I just very quickly made the move after the first person. And
You cut the guy off.
No, I did not.
Cut the guy off?
We were going very slow. It was perfect slide in. Did not cut the guy off.
How many feet between the rear of your vehicle and the front of theirs?
A full car length.
Thank you. Okay, that helps out a lot.
And I was just on the tail of the first guy. It was smooth. Shouldn't have been an issue. Except the person behind me was a lifted camo truck.
Should be killed immediately. No joke. Killed immediately.
He does one of those 6-second honks.
Love that.
Just absolutely raging.
So angry.
This isn't what I usually do. Just held a finger until he laid off the horn.
Right.
He lays off the horn. I put my finger down.
How about that, buddy? Huh?
He goes in the right lane, just out the window, screaming at me, spits on the window.
Yeah.
Gets a giant splat, continues, and starts to try to get into the left lane. And I'm trying to fight it, but there's a barrier. They're doing some construction.
Always in the city.
Always in the city. So there's not as much room on the shoulder, and there's just a cement barrier. I tried to stay up, but he did not care. He would have took the damage on the truck to run me into the thing, and I had to brake, and he just
Pussy.
I did puss out. That's why I would have beat the shit out of that guy at the counter. I'm not going to let people disrespect me like that
In
again.
hypothetical situations, you were a fucking killer.
Nick, first off, I'm pretty confident you could beat the shit out of most people in a road rage incident. I'll say that.
Thanks.
Second thing is, I know you're upset because you feel like that guy bested you. Trust me, he did not. It's better to just let go, live your life. You're going to be making money. You're going to go back to your lovely girlfriend. You're going to eat some takeout.
What's up with you, fucking Shankar?
I'm not a pacifist. I'll give someone the middle finger and yell back out, but I'm not an aggressor anymore as someone driving.
I would have let
yelling.
the guy slam me into the fucking barrier.
Oh,
and then dealt
Dylan,
with
you have
that.
so much to lose. Don't get into it with these
What are you
people.
talking about?
That's so funny because that was my lament. I'm like, I should have just went into the barrier.
Yeah.
What would have fucking happened then, guy?
Get the phone out, start recording, and just fall into that barrier, get so much damage done, call the police, and just sit smugly by while they're filing the report.
I never honk at
It's a
anybody.
long game.
I drive around this city all day long, and so I'm in the car more than anybody I know. So I'm almost killed by other people on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
My wife was in the car with me one time where someone almost ran us off the road, and I have no nerve endings about it. She's like, honk on the horn. And I'm like, She couldn't understand why I was not enraged by almost being killed by another
It's a sad
vehicle.
thing that you're accustomed to, because we've talked about it before. The extreme is online, where you really recognize no consequence for your words whatsoever. Well, except like I'm talking about in comments. You can call someone a fat piece of shit that should kill themselves, and you really have no emotional response from them whatsoever.
You get that little adrenaline going.
Right, but you're completely insulated from how it affects them. It just feels good to get it off.
Mm-hmm.
In Los Angeles, to a lesser degree, people are insulated and their humanity is lost a little bit because you really aren't going to get face-to-face with anybody. You can just be a sociopath, cut people off. It doesn't matter. There's 14 million people here. Fuck them. I need to get to that light. And unfortunately, I'm 5 lanes away from it.
Now, Dylan,
pretend it's a city.
You're an aggressive driver. I have to share a personal story being in the car with Dylan one time. He picks me up at my house, and we're driving down our little quaint street, and there's a car in front of us that is driving a little slow. And Dylan, for some reason, wants us to get to the studio. I don't know if we were going to work or going to record with you, Nick.
Yeah.
Anyway, this car doesn't have the blinker on, but it's going 5 miles an hour. I get it. It's annoying. Dylan lays on his horn, throws his hands up. It's my neighbor, who happens to be black. And they both have what the fuck off, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
He's pointing at Dylan. He's like, this
I did. I was
guy.
I don't know why I'm in this car with him. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Dylan?
Yeah, I do. He was a fucking asshole.
No, he was. He's a very nice guy. They just had a
all right,
kid.
so
hold on. I want to tell a story.
Tell him congrats.
All right. So, Dylan, you were talking about this idea of people fighting behind computer screens, and then that being very different than these kind of crazy interactions we have with strangers on the road.
Yeah,
right?
you call somebody from New Jersey a fucking fat piece of shit, you might get your nose broken. You can do it on Twitter with no consequences
That's where I'm
whatsoever.
going with this.
Yeah.
The guys on Victory talk about it all the time. People in LA, no one does anything. There's a lot of chatter.
Right.
And tell the person who does, and then you're dead. But
So,
Well, and then there's a lawsuit, you know.
Then, now there is, but not back 20 years ago. People would just take a hit, and then they'd go on the merry long way and go, oh, that guy beat me up. I was at a bar called the 4100 club down where you guys lived, right off Sunset down there in that Jiffy Lube.
Isn't that like an evangelist group or like an AARP group or
No,
something?
it's the Hollywood kind of East Side elite. It's a really fun place. A bunch of famous stars used to be there on a Friday night. Like
And
Johnny
you were
Knoxville.
the East Hollywood
I
elite?
was there. I used to drink with the bass player Weezer. It was really fun.
You don't think a legend of the San Fernando Valley qualifies as East Hollywood elite?
Nope.
So I kind of felt like this place was my home. I was there every Friday and Saturday night. So there's this really hot brunette, and she's flirting, and we're drinking together, having fun. Turns out she's got a boyfriend, but she doesn't tell me that. Right. There's another guy that's with him. He's like the puss, the cuck. He's got 3 girls. I guess he's looking after all his boys' girlfriends or something like that.
Right.
So
To be honest, your biggest asset and ally because he brought all these women for you.
Bring them to a bar, bring them to a coffee shop if you don't want anybody to talk to them. Anyway.
Right.
So we're flirting it up. She doesn't seem to care. He comes up to me, knocks on my shoulder, says, she has a boyfriend. I said, well, that's up to between him and her. Right now I'm having a good time, so bug off.
Oh, what a scumbag you are.
So that's up to her.
Yeah, if she tells you she has a boyfriend, you back off. If some fucking douchebag does,
And he was a douchebag. He looked like the lead singer of Vertical Horizon. He's
I
wearing
disagree.
a ridiculous
Oh,
jacket.
what a band. I disagree. If somebody tells you that person has a girlfriend, you go, oh, wow, she's a cheating whore. I shouldn't talk to her.
No way. You ask like he did. Ask her right in front. If she says at the moment, like, yeah, I do, then you walk away.
Sorry, we're going to war with China and both Russia.
May I
also,
continue?
Iran will round that axis
So anyway,
off.
when you go to a bar and you tip enough and the door guys know you and our manager knows you, that gives you a little bit more sway of being able to get away with whatever you want. It's just how the world works, unfortunately. This guy was probably his first time going to that bar. So anyway, I'm still hanging out with the girl, and I go to get her number.
Right.
And that's when, because we're about to leave or whatever, that's when this guy comes up.
Yeah.
And he says, she's not giving you her number, get out. And then she's kind of like caught in a situation because I think she wanted me to do that more discreetly.
Right.
As I'm walking away, the guy calls me.
Whoa.
So I turned around and I
Because
said,
you won't take that. You're not gay.
what did you call me? And I don't even wait for the answer, and I just knock him out.
Oh,
the
okay.
guy falls straight down on the bar, and then I lift up a bar stool to start hammering away. Thank God my friend Jay was there, and he catches it right before it hits the guy's head.
Right, 'cause you
I
would've
would have gone
gone
to
to
jail.
prison, yeah.
So then the bouncers pull me off, and they kick him out. That's the wonderful thing about being a regular at a bar. So the guy is, I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to that guy. So I go out of the bar.
Oh, you're
he
gonna talk
runs
to him
his
now.
car, and he hits the accelerator and drives off, leaving the 3 girls that he brought there.
See, that's what you could have done to the guy in the camo.
Now, what my point is, I
You
broke
weren't
my
such a
fucking thumb.
pussy.
If I ever see
I broke my thumb on this guy's head.
You can't throw a punch like that.
So, and then I felt bad about the girls because they were all upset. I punched this guy.
Traumatized, yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, he'll probably never call anybody again, right?
All right, yeah, there's that word again.
Yeah.
silver lining.
Hey, so we've got a lot of stuff to get into tonight. We got to delve into a little bit of internet drama. If we have time, I want to reveal to this audience the legend of Ian K and Peep This Out food reviews. Fans of our Patreon know him very, very well. He is a psychopathic, very committed YouTube content creator who goes around the San Fernando Valley trying the newest fare from culinary institutions that are trying to kill Americans every day. And then we've also got this Jeffrey Toobin thing.
Which is really fun, and before we get into it, great tease. I'm sure some people already have seen the clip that went viral today, and they're like, I can't wait for those guys to get into that. But before we do, I think we could make this funny. Let's tell these people what we have going on the Patreon. I mean, we've got a lot of fucking stuff.
Yeah. So, tons more APSs. I mean, there's probably 20 to 25 of these shows there.
What we're doing here,
but just a little bit, the shackles are off completely.
I feel like I can speak more freely on that forum.
Well, you just said twice, and I just rounded it out for a third. So
we get a little bit more freely in terms of talking more personally.
Yes.
We've learned this from like gossipy girl podcast. I mean, those For Crying Out Loud women kill it just by talking shit about other people behind a paywall. I'm going to really start delving in. We just triggered a lot of memories when you just told that story about almost busting a bar stool over someone's head.
I wasn't going to do it. I was going to let it hit the floor and just scare him.
And he would have been terrified. But
he's not a pussy.
I don't have a ton of stories where he beat the shit out of people, but a ton of just really absurd blacking out stories that in hindsight
How do you remember?
Stories, friends
Scars,
I was with.
tattoos,
Scars, tattoos,
wounds,
brownouts, the ins and outs of some of these
yeah,
experiences.
it's like I was there but wasn't.
And when you told that story, a bunch just came flooding back to me, and I'm really going to start delving into some of those.
I
the
love
audience
those
wants to
stories,
hear
yeah.
more about you as a person, Nikki.
Another podcast show, patreon.com/another podcast network is where they can hear it. And we cover a whole bunch of other reality shows. Real Housewives of New York, if people haven't heard of it.
Before we get into this stuff, and we're not going to get to all of it today, but that reminds me, I looked at my Uber rating recently because I heard Rich Eisen talking about him having a really shitty Uber rating.
Well, he's a jerk.
I'm not, though. And I have a 4.7.
So that one driver dinged you.
That's not one driver. He knows the algorithm better than anybody.
Well, I should too.
Why do I have because you're a professional Uber driver. But why do I have such a low rating? It couldn't be the one time I picked Nick up, or I took Nick from the Halloween party, and he blackout wrestled me in the back of that guy's car, and he almost had to pull over and call the police. But I said, "Don't worry, I'll calm him down."
Thank God.
It couldn't be that one.
But he didn't
right?
know if it was you or Nick that was that Uber that he was giving the
he
one
knew.
star to.
He knew.
I feel like you're doing a good job of taking extreme ownership, but even by positing the question,
Right.
you're kind of like leaving the window. Is it my fault that you have a bad rating? No, Dylan. You have the same demeanor as Rich Eisen. The same reason we say Rich Eisen is an asshole is how you, and it's more because of your social awkwardness, not because you're a mean person. But he doesn't give people the time of day, and I doubt you look these people in the eye and ask them how their day is.
Please and thank you and how you doing.
I'm very, very friendly. I always say thank you. I always say please. I'm very, very polite. But what I do is I don't like talking to these people. So I lie. And I say, hey, I'm going to be one of your quiet passengers today. I got to listen to something before I get to where we're going.
That should mean shut up as a driver. In my head.
But it shouldn't mean I'm going to dock this guy.
Right.
I don't know why I ever get dinged, and it has to be from
Dylan.
that one time when Nick fought me in the back of that guy's car.
So you do say it's one bad review that brought your rating down.
I don't think it is. I think I'm getting dinged all over the place, and I haven't the faintest idea.
I'm telling
what
you,
for.
Dylan. I'm telling you, it's kind of your overall demeanor with strangers. I'm sorry. You come off a little on a high horse. Sorry.
I don't think that's it.
It kind of is.
And I want to reiterate, it's because like you're not being mean to most people. It's like you're awkward. So then, just like that interview story, which you have to tell in here one time.
What interview story?
Where you approached the guy and you basically asked him when he was going to sit down.
Oh,
with you.
yeah. We can round this episode out with this story really quickly. So I got an interview to go work for the hit television show. What is that movie called with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover?
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon. So it
Lethal
was the
Weapon.
television adaptation for Lethal Weapon, starring Sean William Scott.
They've had
and
two
one
characters.
of the Wayans brothers.
Yeah, they've switched cast members on that because I guess Sean William Scott is a dickhead too.
That show is still going.
For 3 seasons, it did.
That's pretty decent.
I think it's over now. But I was going to be the showrunner's assistant or something like that. And I show up on the...
Very presumptuous of you. You were trying to be.
See, Dylan, this is what we're talking about. This is why Uber drivers hate you.
So I was going there to just knock this interview out of the park because I'm very confident in myself. But anyway, so I walk onto the Warner Brothers lot and I go to the writer's room and I sit down with his assistant, who I think was leaving to go work on the Beto O'Rourke campaign. That was a bad move. But anyways,
I'm going to take away your AR-15s. I'm going to take away your handguns. I'm going to take away your grenades. And as the audience cheers, I'm going to get even more amped, dude.
Just because the guy didn't get the nomination doesn't mean he's not a made man and locked in.
He is a
with
made
old
man.
Zuck.
Oh, we haven't seen the last of...
No, he is a made
him.
man, and I agree. We should be taking away people's grenades. But anyway, so I walk in, I interview with the assistant, goes great, absolutely crush it. And then we're waiting around for this very rude showrunner to show up because he has an appointment with me, and he is 15 minutes late at this point. So she says, I've never met this man in my life. I Googled him just to not have any awkwardness. You know, you want to know what the guy looks like. Little did I know that's what led to the awkwardness.
What a novel idea! You prepared for the interview.
Prepared
nice,
for the
I like
interview.
that.
So I'm told by the assistant, why don't you go out and grab a coffee on the lot and then come back? And I say, okay, sounds great. So I walk out, and as I'm walking out, the showrunner himself walks into the building.
And you recognize him.
I recognized him.
He Googled it.
Facial recognition.
Uh-huh.
I did an ocular pat down. I said, this is the guy. And I went up to him and I said, hey, when do you have a second to meet? This is...
You weren't doing the math that he didn't do a face recognition on you.
He didn't research me.
No.
He didn't do any research prep
And
on
he
me.
and he needs to do a little extreme ownership and realize that this is kind of on him. But anyways,
But-
what happened?
So this, in his world, was a random kid that he'd never seen before in a pullover and a tie that was poorly tied, approaching him and saying, hey, when do you want to sit down with me? Because he's a showrunner. He's running a show for Fox. They're selling Trulicity ads against this space. And this is an important job. He's got a lot of stuff to do. He's never seen me before in his life. But much like you on the road with that camo truck, this guy was a fucking pussy. And I am told by the one of the writers that I knew that the second interview is not going to happen. He kind of blew me off and said, yeah, talk to you later. Then came in and told the story to everybody that some crazy person had approached him for some minutes of his time. But she said that he felt threatened by what I had done and that he did not want to see me for the second interview. And, I understand. So I don't think I was threatening. But then again, I don't know why I have a 4.7 Uber rating.
Right.
It's so weird.
Is it time to take a look in the mirror, Dylan?
I'm having a flood of ideas of other stuff I can do for APS right now because, as you know, I was an Uber driver for a long time, and I have a fascination with the craft and the passengers. And when I was a passenger, I would constantly get in conversation with Uber drivers, and I have maybe 9 conversations on my phone, 30 minutes with Uber drivers that are absolutely fascinating, where I delve in these people's lives.
You were recording them without their knowledge?
At the end, for about half of them, I told them what I did, and I was like, do you mind? And I got their information, and I just haven't put them out, but they're in my iPhone, and they're
Now,
some
see,
of them are amazing.
I would dock him for trying to pry into my life.
I would too.
I would say no.
That's a
way.
risk I'm willing to take.
I have a reality TV show pitch, which I had thought would be a great idea. You know how they canceled it because it has cops in it, but it was called I forget, like where they just do like live cops. But it wasn't cops, so it was live. It was the biggest show on cable for 10
Rescue
minutes.
PD or Rescue.
Yeah,
or,
they go all around
yeah,
the United States.
I said the title correctly.
Yeah, Rescue PD or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's called Uber 24/7.
Got it.
And we're just bouncing around to different Ubers and hearing all the conversations. Maybe someone's blowing their Uber driver. Nick, you've had sex with some passengers before, right?
Yeah, and
It's crazy stuff happening in those cars.
Yeah.
and some of the most
channel would that
consensual
show
sex
land
I've
on?
ever had in my life.
Okay, so we've been going long, but I do want to talk about this Jeffrey Toobin thing really, really quickly.
Now, we're not going to get political, right?
No. There's well, maybe a little bit political.
Well, I
but
want to say this. All right, so the Jeffrey Toobin, set it up because I want to say I'm already seeing a comment where I'll agree with the guy, but we got to do that for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to let Nick set this up because it's his clip, but I will say I am pretty libbed out, and I think that we can all agree this isn't a political thing, that oftentimes during CNN's slate of programming you scratch your head and go, are these people fucking insane? Are they part of a cult? And there is no better example than what happened to Jeffrey Toobin.
All right, so do you want to say what, if people don't know, Jeffrey Toobin was on a Zoom
It's his
call.
clip. He's
Oh,
got
okay.
it.
I'm not intimate with the details of the original thing. I just know this guy.
So do you want to throw it back to Pat?
But I just want to very quickly say what I know, that the guy was wanking it in front of his coworkers. But I don't know how it got out.
That's a very lead way to
Unintentionally.
to tell
A
the
lot of
story,
people have been doing the Zooms with their pants off, or not. You're not in the office, and it's only shooting you from the chest up.
He was-
beating off is
yes.
taking it to another level.
He was beating off. Unbeknownst to him, the Zoom call was still live. This was
So you do know what happened.
yes. This was in a Zoom call with I think people from the New Yorker, where he is a staff writer, and there was a Zoom call about some really important story they were doing about I don't know foreclosures and big private equity firms coming in and buying them out or something like that.
It's the right time in your brain to start saying, you know, I'm going to whip my balls out
exactly.
and start tickling them.
So the weird thing is like, hey, why don't you leave yourself a buffer of coaxing potato water out of your cock? Just give yourself 15 minutes, have a cup of tea, you know, maybe light some incense, and then go spank it. Why it has to be done in the middle of a break?
If there were females, he's probably turned on by the females, which makes it even more kind of
maybe that's
disgusting.
Probably it. Yeah.
A little background on Jeffrey Toobin. He's also an author, and where he came into prominence for me was during the OJ trials and the murders. He actually wrote the book that they based the People verse
interesting.
OJ on.
I did not know that about
Tubes. He's a real likable guy. I was actually kind of disappointed in him when he did this.
So what happened was he was put on leave by CNN and now is making his return to the limelight. Now,
he's back.
Now, what has to happen on CNN is a crucible-type, terrifying, cultish punishment that people have to go through when they make a mistake like this. So let's just take a quick little listen to Jeffrey Toobin's very public lashing on CNN.
You're really going to let him have it.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, Allison.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, indeed.
I feel like we should address what's happened in the months since we've seen you, since some of our viewers may not know what has happened. So I guess I'll recap. I'll do the honors.
Help yourself.
Okay.
I know I did.
In October,
I could take it if you want.
You were on a Zoom call with your colleagues from the New Yorker magazine. Everyone took a break for several minutes, during which time you were caught masturbating on camera. You were subsequently fired from that job after 27 years of working there.
It's insane.
And you, since then, have been on leave from
Look at her
CNN.
talking to camera while she's doing this.
You
She's
got
not
it
even
all
talking
right.
to him.
Sad to say.
Okay, so let's start there.
Okay.
To quote Jay Leno, what the hell were you thinking?
Well, obviously, I wasn't thinking very well.
I didn't know
or
Jay
very
Leno
much,
said that.
And
That's his quote.
It was
With Hugh,
something that
what
was
the hell were you thinking?
He said
inexplicable
it's
to
a
me. I think
Hugh,
one
whatever his
point,
name is,
I
for
wouldn't
being with
exactly
the
say in my
prostitute.
defense because nothing is really in my defense. I didn't think I was on the call. I didn't think other people could see me.
You thought that you had turned off your camera?
Correct. I thought that I had turned off the Zoom call. Now, that's not a defense. This was deeply moronic.
It would have been so much better if he just all of a sudden was incredibly defiant. He's like, who amongst us has not jerked off in front of their computer?
Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you beat that fetid old thing down there, huh?
Him saying it to the female anchor?
Yeah.
Nice. I have this to say. I don't know how much more you're going to play. He seems like he's falling on the sword. The playfulness of this kind of is,
there's a little
hitting
levity.
me, which we don't have a lot of that these days.
Right.
Thinking of this, there's a comment under this video. It's a guy who says, "Good Lord, let the guy move on. This is a prime example of a human being making a mistake. Honestly, if he only got caught once, those are rookie numbers."
Well, so here's the thing. He is apologizing. He is apologizing essentially for not knowing how to work technology correctly.
Right.
Everyone.
I didn't know the Zoom was on.
Everyone masturbates. That's not a crime. It's self-love and self-care.
Right.
Unless you do it 3 times a day, 7 days a week. 2020 was tough for me. But beating off is not a crime. Why is this man being dragged in front of McCarthy in a yellow dress? This is fucking crazy.
A lot of conservatives, alt-right, are like, CNN allowing this man on who is jerking off. I'm the opposite. I'm kind of what you're exactly saying. We all do this. Guy made a mistake, but definitely don't make this a news story that becomes a viral clip. Having him address this online. I don't
think the alt-right's issue would be letting him on.
No, they have a whole issue with like. They're like, that's CNN for you.
The hypocrisy.
Like Ben Shapiro is just like hammering that this guy is back.
Oh,
he's allowed back.
Can I say something though? This is maybe this is not a good example of it, but there is a little bit about one side of the aisle forgiving a little bit easier of their people as opposed to other people. I'll give case in point.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris Harrison, I don't want to discuss what he said, but I'll just say he said something that a lot of people found inappropriate, and therefore he was fired.
Right.
No more work for Chris Harrison. In the same year, Snoop Dogg calls a black anchor, forgive me, I can't think of her name, a fucking black bitch, and he's coming for her to kill her.
Sure.
2 weeks later, he has a show with Martha Stewart.
Right.
We're not even-handedly dealing with people the same way for what I would say are sometimes very outrageous behavior. Chris Harrison's fired for saying something stupid. Snoop Dogg out and out calls a girl a bitch, a peer, and says he's going to kill her. He apologized the next day, and he's got 3 shows on the E! Network.
Right.
People fucking love Snoop.
Yeah, he's a
I don't care if we
talent,
love
man.
him.
I mean,
He threatened
Jeffrey's-
somebody. There should be repercussions if we're going to say we're doing this even-handedly. And I think that's why people get upset on one side of the aisle. Like, hey, this is kind of hypocritical here.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Who would you rather watch suck down a blunt and make eggs Florentine? Snoop and Martha or Tubemeister? And this, I was going to use the word B, but I'm just saying Snoop is a once-in-a-generation talent.
Personal story.
He's
Recording studio.
He's afforded opportunities because he's so good.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He offered me a joint one time to smoke with him at the recording studio, and I turned it down because I just started my shift and I was on the clock. I always regretted not smoking.
Yeah, you
were the first
what a
person in the history of the world to do that. I actually think it's a baller move in hindsight because he ruins fights for me.
What do you mean? Because he's so high?
No, he's like announcer on some of these Triller shit, and they used to have him as the secondary commentary on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender series, and he just screams and you repeat, O'Malley, pay me my money, Dana White, and he ruins fights for me.
You should watch his play-by-play on Animal Planet killing.
Yeah, see, that's magnificent.
I bet it's the exact same. There's no nuance.
There's a lot of nuance.
Look at his
It's really,
run.
hey, you need to calm down, okay?
There is
It's just the
strategy
UFC. Nobody
in both
cares.
animal fights and the UFC.
So listen.
I like how Pat calls it. He took out his
I'm
headphones
sweating.
and he put.
I'm sweating my ass off.
So,
But that is the end. I can't.
A perfect. This is the end. But Manny Ramirez threw that traveling agent down the steps, and he was in the lineup the next day.
You love that story.
You know, but that's the things that are afforded to greatness, like Snoop. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back next week. Guys, YouTube, search another podcast network, jump the iTunes, ratings and reviews, leave 5 stars, kind words. We'll see you next week. I'm Dylan saying goodbye. Nick, say goodbye.
And if you want to hear a second episode, patreon.com.
Patreon.com.
Yeah, give us money, please.
Patreon.com/another podcast network.
Say bye.
Bye.
Pat.
Bye.